teach our daughters that virginity could be lost so that our sons could score. We teach our daughters that they protect themselves by being silent so that our sons are safe to be violent. We teach our daughters not to say no so that our sons won't be told no. And ever so tragically, we shame our daughters for consenting to sex so we don't blame our sons for rape.
So here's something that does not add up. So many cis men prefer the real thing when it comes to dating transgender women, and yet we are forgetting many of them cannot even keep it real with their own insecurities rooted in toxic norms that objectifies and reduces women to a body function or part.
Part 6, let's get into it. Remember to remain objective and look at the facts. Open discussion in the comment section as always. If you have a weird attachment to this celebrity, that is not my problem. Argue with your mama, not with me. Despite being an avid Trump supporter, Miss PH also bashed his sexual abuse victims by saying they were just simply trying to ruin his image and that they were lying. She's also extremely racist. In a quote from Neil Strauss's book, Everyone Loves You When You're Dead, she literally said, "I can't stand black guys. I would never touch one. It's gross." When she was partying with her sister Nikki and they were listening to Biggie, she literally looked at the camera and said, "Look, we're like two N-words with a hard ER." And of course her publicist tried to justify her racism by saying, "Oh, she was only 20 years old. She didn't know better." What? And she was literally caught doing the Nazi salute. And of course her publicist again justifying all her abhorrent actions. This woman is a literal white supremacist. And I've seen her all over my social media recently being presented as some type of Y2K queen. People, stop uplifting bigots!
I can't believe I have to explain the concept of empathy to a grown man like he's a 4-year-old. But basically, when somebody is experiencing something horrific, your first reaction should not be, "Well, it wasn't me, so I don't give a shit." Because nobody has ever said that all men are rapists, shouting that over the voices of victims who need to be heard is not just disrespectful and rude, it is making this situation about yourself. And we're talking about gender-based violence here, which is not just limited to Sarah Everard. She is one of a really, really long list. And she's opened up a conversation about not just rape, not just murder, but sexual harassment in general, which, by the way, I've experienced since I was 12 years old. And by suggesting that survivors speaking about their experiences is inherently anti-man, you are the only one suggesting that you think that all men are predators. Not me.
Oh, just to be clear, I didn't make fun of his height. My used vagina did.
I have been trying to read The Master's Tools Will Never Dismantle the Master's House by Audre Lorde. I was trying to do it while I was crocheting, but that didn't work. So I'm going to read it like I read the poems that I share. Okay. Those of us who stand outside the circle of this society's definition of acceptable women, those of us who have been forged in the crucibles of difference, those of us who are poor, who are lesbians, who are Black, who are older, we know that survival is not an academic skill. It's learning how to stand alone, unpopular, and sometimes reviled, and how to make common cause with those others identified as outside the structures, in order to define and seek a world in which we can all flourish. It's learning how to take our differences and make them strengths. For the Master's tools will never dismantle the Master's house. Now, they may allow us temporarily to beat him at his own game, but they will never enable us to bring about genuine change. And this fact is only threatening to those women who still define the Master's house as their only source of support. So if white American feminist theory need not deal with the differences between us and the resulting difference in our oppression, then how do you deal with the fact that the women who clean your houses and tend to your children while you attend conferences on feminist theory, how do you contend with the fact that for the most part, they are poor women and women of color? What is the theory behind racist feminism?
Intersectional feminism is about understanding that as women, we are oppressed because of the systemic misogyny, while simultaneously understanding that a black woman is even more oppressed because of the systemic misogyny and systemic racism, while also simultaneously understanding that a queer black woman is even more oppressed because of the systemic misogyny, racism, and homophobia, and so on and so forth if you start adding class and disability. It's about understanding the different types of oppression and privileges.
Hey there, sugar. You are not on the wrong side of TikTok. Just watch this and come right back.
What the hell are we going to do without men?
Less rape, less murder, less stalking, less violence by a domestic partner. But I think y'all forget that we still have gay men and we still have good straight men. So, yeah, we don't need y'all.
You look around the city here, you see all these buildings go up, these men, they're doing impossible things.
Cis, white, Christian, conservative men could maybe stop shutting out every other categorization of human being who often contributed more to the development of things than they did, and not taking accountability for the wars that you create and the problems. That's all on y'all. But those are women. Weird. Oh, let me try again. Welder, baby. Oh, but now for sure here she is giving orders to a man. So is that the man you're talking about? Because like I'm focused all on her. Let's give it another shot. Baby, this is my language. I'm in the coal fields of Southwest Virginia and she's in the coal mine. Oh, that is a big piece of machinery that she uses. Well, Lord, look here at her climbing poles.
And they can make their communities better. And that's not toxic masculinity.
Of course that's not toxic masculinity to make your community a better place. As a matter of fact, that's the opposite of it. But you so thoroughly display toxic masculinity because you believe that there is only one type of man, and it has you so upset that you're in tears about it, which real men cry and emotions are real. So I'm here for that. And I do have a tissue for you, and I will sit here with you until you can work through this. But then we're going to have a discussion about accountability and about how you believe that there is only one state of being for men or masculine men, or that all men have to be masculine, as if you are the standard by which everyone else is measured. You're not. Thank God, because that, like, our species would have ended if they were all like this. So let me show you some real men who make it clear what is actual masculinity. This is my favorite pre-K teacher. He's amazing. He was born for this. His students love him. That makes them feel supported and loved and cherished and keeps everything fun. And we are here for that. By the way, Black Lives Matter. Love is love. Climate change is real and no human is illegal on stolen land. This is everybody's favorite lady cop. Oh, Marquita is the bee's knees, and also we love Auntie Chanel. Doing it. I made this one. This is my oldest son, and he is a registered nurse and a travel nurse, and he is one hell of a man, honey. He can also save your life, but he is doing what was often considered to be a female-dominated position, which I'm so glad to watch that die. We need more men in healthcare. Honey, he slayed her head. He is a black business owner and a hairdresser, salon owner. That is his mama, honey. She had that hair snatched to the gods. King. We know very well what is toxic masculinity because you display it so well. What we get really irritated about is the fact that you seem to think that you are the only type of man that should be allowed to exist, when the truth is that we love the type that I just showed you. We could do without y'all. We have gay men and we have good straight men. We don't need you toxic assholes. We really don't. And that is where you're so triggered at, because it's always been enough to be able to bring a package and a paycheck. And that isn't the case anymore. You better bring more to the table, because we are the table.
A question I've been sitting with for a few years is, what if we stopped using the term liberal feminism and replaced it with different language that didn't use the word feminism? You'll never hear people identify as liberal feminists, or at least I never have, because it's an oxymoron. Instead, this term is used to identify people, corporations, organizations who are claiming to work towards gender equality but are actually perpetuating harmful systems. Instead of identifying as liberal feminists, people with liberal feminist practices often just call themselves feminists, whereas people who are dedicated to the liberation of women through profound social change will often qualify their feminism, like, I'm an anti-capitalist eco-feminist. I would argue that the bare minimum of any theory that calls itself feminist is the liberation of women, not the assimilation of women, and that is not what liberal feminism was designed for. Harm reduction matters. Policies that change the material conditions of women in our current society do make a difference, but if the ultimate goal isn't to dismantle the systems that have to be changed, people will remain oppressed. I see how this can get dicey, but I wonder what changing our language can do.
Hi, Benji here, and this is what intersectionality means and why it matters. Intersectionality is the way in which multiple forms of discrimination, like racism or sexism, combine, overlap, or intersect. Kimberly Crenshaw popularized the term in 1989 when she highlighted that viewing black women as black or women independently erases the struggles black women experience from facing two systems of oppression. Crucially, intersectionality identifies that discrimination is not always additive. Black women don't just face double the discrimination, they face a unique set of struggles that need to be recognised. This is important, as without an intersectional view on discrimination in our society, we will never have one that is truly fair or equal. For example, we will never truly close the gender pay gap without paying specific attention to the fact that the gap is generally wider for women of colour than it is for white women. That's just one of many examples why intersectionality matters. Hope that helps. Bye!
Thinking that only women could be sluts comes from the idea that sex is something that's done to women rather than done with them.
It is always nice to see you, says the man behind the counter to the
Who got beef? I'm trying to find something to eat. If she the up, then bring her to me. I don't give a fuck about her